Ready?
Okay, this is Kim with Hiphop TV, and I'm here with my academic hero, Joan Morgan, Dr. Joan Morgan. I just told you that I shouted you out on Dutch National Radio. Unfortunately, you cannot probably understand what I'm saying, but I did want to give you the flowers. So, Dr. Morgan, can you tell me what hip-hop feminism is?
I came up with the term hip-hop feminism because when I was working as a journalist, as one of the first hip-hop journalists, it's one of the first women to really write about a feminist take, because I was a hip-hop fan before I understood that I was a feminist. Like, I actually loved hip-hop first, but the question that kept coming up for me was people would constantly ask me, how can you consider yourself a feminist and love hip-hop? And so the book really, I wrote a book because I needed to answer that question for myself. In the same way, like I can't answer the question, am I more black or a woman? There's no dividing line in my body that says this part of me belongs to hip hop and this part belongs to feminism. But I knew that those two things were not necessarily impossible, even though sometimes they could be in conflict, but that it could exist because I existed. And so I was trying to describe a feminism that really is a product of a post-civil rights, first iteration wave of feminism, the crack epidemic, and the generation of people who created really something out of nothing. And so I felt while it was absolutely part of a black feminist tradition, I hadn't heard it articulated by black feminists in a way that actually centered hip-hop culture.
So in March is the 25th anniversary of when chicken heads come home to roost, right? And you mean so much for me on a personal level, but also on an academic level. And you have other younger scholars who are doing something with hip-hop feminism. How do you think that concept develops through the years? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I wrote in Chicken Heads that my version of hip-hop feminism, or that iteration of hip-hop feminism, was never meant to be definitive. It was always about having our cumulative voices remix, fill in the breaks, add to the chorus. I'm perfectly happy when people don't agree with me. I was very happy to see that crunk feminism, shout out the Crunk Feminist Collective and Dr. Brittany Cooper, needed something that was rooted in hip-hop feminism, but more specific to what their cultural experiences was as daughters of crunk. I love Cecily Rowan's work. I'm a big fan of her book. I don't do trap at all, but it's really important for her articulation as someone who's shaped by trap culture to give voice to a generation of feminists who are trying to reconcile the hard realities of loving something that doesn't always love you back.
And is that still like the most challenging thing that modern day hip-hop feminists need to tackle or need to deal with?
I don't really, other people call me hip-hop feminist. I really just call myself a feminist at this point. I think hip-hop 25 years ago was the way that I needed to enter and make sense of my feminism. I think that my feminism makes enough sense to me now that I can just claim it. So I don't need that particular specificity anymore. But I also think that there's so many other sites of interrogation. Like, I used hip hop because it was a really public way to deal with gender dynamics and misogyny within the black community that wasn't always talking about it. But you don't need to do that with hip hop right now. You can just take podcasts. You can take all these podcast bros and use it as a site of interrogation. There's so many public spaces because of the democratization of digital media and public space that allow you to show the ways that frankly, like, men are becoming radicalized in their misogyny. So I think that there's a lot of work to do, and that it doesn't need to exist just within the context of hip-hop.
Thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you too.
I can't believe you came all the way from the Netherlands.